Okay. So we're getting ready to start. So, what's going on, YouTubers? Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Natural Born Thriller. Welcome everyone to Impact Wrestling Review, the show from October 13th, 2020. They were in Nashville, Tennessee. Their commentators were Josh Matthews and Madison Rain. Still on the road to Bountiful Glory, and we're just one more week away till we get to Bountiful Glory next week on a Saturday. And next week will be the Go Home Show edition. But as of right now, this will be another edition of Impact Wrestling pertains to what they're going to be doing, building up for Bountiful Glory. Wasn't that excited about the show itself, where it pertains to how they booked it. We're going to run through it once we get to it, and that's all I'm going to say from there. Lennon, his kitchen is here. What is going on? So yeah, we're going to get ready to start with this. Starting off with Moose confronting Scott Demoy, where it pertains to the Ultimate EC3 with this whole thing that's still in the end, the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, I should say, at this location, and basically EC3 challenging Moose at Bound for Glory, which I knew it was going to lead to, which is going to be called the Undislocated match. That's basically what it's going to be. It's going to be wherever they want to go, which is why they're calling it a dislocated. I mean a disclosed location, I to say. A undislocation. I'm not saying it wrong again. The undisclosed location match. That's the match is going to be. I don't know what's that going to be about. Then they're going to be somewhere that has nothing to do or be in the impact zone. Has nothing to do with being at the event of Bound for Glory. Well, even though it's going to be a part of Bound for Glory, but it's going to be like a cinematic match. Where it tends to this undisclosed location where they're going to be at. So where they're going to be at, that's going to be presented for Bound for Glory next Saturday on October 24th, 2020. But Moose is ranting about the whole thing with EC3 still on the TNA World Title. Scott Demore basically saying that he doesn't have time for all this nonsense and everything. He's got to wait for a phone call about Rich Swann to see if he's going to be in any type of condition for us against EY for the Impact World Title at Bound for Glory. We'll get to that when we get to it. So Moose ends up leaving, and also EC3 is controlling once again. With a video with telling Moose that to control his narrative, and he got the whole possession of the TNA World Heavyweight Championship title belt, and that's him as a women. So what was the point of EC3 throwing the belt over the bridge if the belt is going back to being in the possession of EC3? I hate this storyline now, but Moose and EC3 can carry it with pertains to of their personas and the promos. But this storyline itself with the booking of it, whoever's behind this whole booking of it, doesn't know what they're doing, in my opinion. Just how they did this too. The whole thing of throwing the TNA World title over the bridge into the water, and then a week later, now it's back in the possession of EC3. How does that make any sense? But we'll get to more of Moose and EC3 later on, which that ends up being part of the show. We'll get to that. There's going to be more to it to that later on. Which it was going to be an undisclosed location that they were at. Basically the same place that EC3 was at last week. That's basically the undisclosed location that EC3 was at before. But I believe there's going to be more to it than just finding on the bridge about for glory. But again, we'll get to more of it when we get to the rest of it later on. So tune in for that. We get a three-way tag team match, I should say, for the knockouts. Rosemary and Tyler Valkyrie versus Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan versus Havoc and Nevaeh. Match itself was pretty decent. I enjoyed this match for what it was. But I was thinking to myself too, as I'm seeing this, and I see myself, what Impact Wrestling's going to do with these women's leading for Bound for Glory? But there's an answer to that. Now we'll get to that when we get to it. Other than Rosemary and Ty Valkyrie, with the whole thing with Johnny Bravo, with the wedding segment that they're building up to, which it's been confirmed when it's going to happen, which we'll get to that when we get to it. But the match itself was pretty decent. Obviously, they're being up on the heels of Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, especially to Kiera Hogan. Kiera Hogan was getting her ass handed to her in this match. Hopefully this means something, and it's going to lead to something where Kiera Hogan is going to eventually, get what she deserves, right? Because I've been waiting for Kiera Hogan's push to be a top contender in the Knockouts division for the longest time, ever since she got there to Impact Wrestling. Hopefully this means something. Or maybe, if with this whole women's Knockouts tag teams going on, how about you bring back the Knockouts tag team titles back? I mean, I know you got that much tag teams for the Knockouts, but you got the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo teaming up with Kimber. You got Kylie Ray teaming up with Susie, but at this point Susie may be gone. But with the return of Su Yung, but we'll see how they do that and everything. Rosemary and Ty Valkyrie are a tag team. Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz are a tag team. Nevaeh and Havoc are a tag team. You can bring in some new knockouts, to form a tag team, But I don't know. Because everything that they did this past summer convinced me that it was going to bring back the knockouts tag titles, even when they mentioned it too. But nothing to it of that so far. I don't know. Maybe eventually they will bring that back, but we'll see. But I'm still waiting for the for the Aces and Ace thing coming back. When they start teasing that too. And other things they were teasing too were teased to Impact Wrestling during the summer when it was building up Bound for Glory. I mean, building up summer anniversaries, I'm going to say. So who knows? But in the end, it was Rosemary and Ty Valkyrie getting the win, and obviously the heels lost in this match, by the way. Yeah, match itself was decent. The scary part of this match was Ty Valkyrie took a dive off the top rope, and Havoc didn't even catch her. I mean, Ty Valkyrie was land on a pile of bodies outside the ring, and because Havoc didn't catch her, Ty Valkyrie looked like she almost planted her face on the mat, on the floor, and I'm like, that was nasty. But she ends up being okay though. But that was really scary there. That Ty Valkyrie took that bump, because she went face first on the floor. It wasn't that bad, but it could have gone worse. But yeah, Rosemary is going to try to get Havoc, which we'll get to that point when we get to it later. As a matter of fact, here we go. So after the match, you have Rosemary trying to convince Havoc to bring back Farmer James Mitchell, because an announcement was made that at the Bound for Glory, which is going to be on the Tuesday, October 27th. Let's see, the 24th is on the Saturday. Sunday, yeah, October 27th of 2020 on Impact Wrestling. The fallout of Bound for Glory. That's when they up the wedding between Johnny Bravo and Rosemary. And I'm gonna be dreading once we get to that. Because you know how I feel about wedding segments in pro wrestling. But anyways, so why of all people, you know, Rosemary and having is good want to bring back Father James Mitchell? Well, it's because he's a minister. He used to be called Senior Minister back in the days of ECW, and on top of that, he's a evil minister. Um, and this could be like a black wedding in a way for Rosemary and Johnny Bravo. And Father James Mitchell is the only one that can do it, even though you could easily get someone else to do it. Hell, I even said before, bring in the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, in because he's a minister. He's a born again Christian. He could get those two wedding get them married. Even though I don't condone it because the storyline this whole thing what the hell they're doing with Rosemary is getting ridiculous. And like this is the best use you got for Rosemary. I would have taken Rosemary because Steve getting married than Rosemary and Johnny Bravo. I don't know. But we'll see how that turns out. Oh yeah, also the Impact Stars, that's even going to be involved in this whole wedding thing. The Deaners, Alicia Edwards, Balaba, because he's the best man. Crazy Steve. And this whole thing makes no sense either. The Deaners said they didn't want no part of this, and then they're back to being part of this. Alicia Edwards is supposed to be involved with Eddie Edwards at the whole thing with EY. They did that one time when Alicia Edwards confronts EY, Eric Young, and then they got away from that, and then Alicia Edwards is back to being a joke, like she's always been, to do a joke wedding segment, and then with Rosemary, again trying to bring back Father James Mitchell, and she needs Havoc's help to bring Father James Mitchell back, but here's the problem: they were the reason why, especially Havoc, that they got rid of Father James Mitchell because he was being a big problem with Rosemary and Sue Young and with Havoc. This whole thing makes no sense either way, folks. And why would Father James Mitchell even agree, even if they were to bring him back? From wherever dead he's from, wherever undead realm that he's in, wherever. Why would he agree to help Rosemary and Johnny Bravo get married? Unless it's going to lead to something where it's going to be sabotage or whatever. I don't know. This whole thing is a mess. It's a complete mess. But we'll see how they build it up too. Oh yeah, so it's going to lead to a match now between Rosemary and Havoc. If Havoc wins, Charles Mitchell's remains dead, never to come back to wherever he is at. If Rosemary's win, then he has to reappear. He's gonna come back to life from wherever he's at. Fallout Bob versus Crazy Steve. Oh yeah, this is the thing I didn't get to mention when they were doing something backstage. So Johnny Bravo, he needs money because apparently they can't afford the wedding. So they want Fallout Bob and others to gather money wherever they can, especially Fallout Bob, who's the best man. Fallout Bob, as we seen last week, he stole Hernandez's money, chain money, that that Hernandez had. So Fallout Bob got it, but Fallout Bob doesn't want to show them that he's got the money. So Crazy Steve, he knows he's got the money. He can sense it. And this led to a match. Fallout Bob's wearing his t-shirt, not showing his money whatsoever. Crazy Steve knows he's got the money on him, but he won't show it. This match was a waste of time, by the way, folks. This match was garbage. Fallout Bob's shirt ends up being ripped up by Crazy Steve. Crazy Steve gets a roll-up win. And Fallout Bob, covers the money, and Fallout Bob leaves. We go backstage. Yeah, I'll just go move on now. We go backstage and we see Rhino confronting Heath. And Heath is wondering what Rhino said to Scott Demoy, because Rhino is the only hope to help Heath to get back in good terms, to get his foot in the door of Impact Wrestling. So Rhino pull some strings, and they're going to be in the gauntlet match. The gauntlet match, by the way, is going to be the what was that? Oh, yeah, the quarter shot gauntlet match that they did last year for Bound for Glory, and now they're going to do it again this year, where it's going to involve the men's and the knockouts. So yeah, so Rhino basically got Heath into that match on one condition. They had to win this match. So they're gonna be in the tag team match, which we'll get to when we get to it. And all of a sudden, Scott Demore comes out while Heath left, because he didn't see Scott Demore coming out, but he leaves because he was excited to be. He's ready to get in gear. He's gonna be having a match. So Scott Demore comes out and he's like, "Did you tell him the rest?" And Rhino's not yet. And basically, Scott Demore reveals that, well, you gotta tell him, because if you guys don't win, then you're both gone. So let's get to this match. So I was confused at first because I heard something about a tag team match, but I didn't know what type of tag team match it was going to be. So Killer for K come out, who's the personal photographer for Tina Dashwood. She comes out, and also I see, also I see Tommy Dreamer coming out, and then I see Brian Myers coming out. I see Cody Deaner coming out. I see Johnny Stringer coming out, and I see myself, what's going on here? And then Hernandez coming out, cousin Jake comes out of the Deaners, Alicia Edwards comes out, Rhino and Heath comes out, and so what is this? So this ends up being a 10-man tag team match. So you had Tina Dashwood, Tommy Dreamer, Brian Myers, Cody Deaner, and Johnny Stringer versus Hernandez, cousin Jake, Alicia Edwards, Heath, and Rhino. This makes no sense because to me, Tommy Dreamer and Brian Myers are a team. After what Brian Myers did to Tommy Dreamer last week, and they are alliances. Hernandez and Rhino are supposed to be enemies, and Heath, with being Rhino's friend, he's considered an enemy of Hernandez too. And now there are alliances in this match. Cousin Jake going up against his cousin Cody Deaner. This match was a mess. I was hating this match. The match was terrible. And what's even terrible about this too was that Myers, Brian Myers wanted to get the tag from Tommy Dreamer, because Tommy Dreamer was going to make a hot tag to Brian Myers. Brian Myers, he walks away. So in the end, it was Heath getting the win for his team by pinning Johnny Stringer in the match. So yes, at least we got something good here. Rhino and Heath remains in Impact Wrestling. Rhino obviously remains in Impact Wrestling, but Heath is finally in Impact Wrestling. Great. But this match sucked. It was terrible. Bad booking. Terrible match. I didn't like the match at all. It was a waste of my time. But at least we got Heath and Rhino getting the win on their side of the team. And it's going to be, more build-ups for the whole pick your shot gauntlet match that's going to happen at Bound for Glory. Last year, Eddie Edwards was part of that too, and he won that match, which I predicted he would. And that was during the time when I liked Eddie Edwards too. And a year later, I'm already getting tired of Eddie Edwards' stick of his gimmick. You go backstage and we see Sami Callihan confronting Eddie Edwards, and then they'll start fighting. All of a sudden, Ken Sharp comes out of nowhere. The worst shot to the back of Eddie Edwards I've ever seen in my entire life. And on top of that, he's fell. Ken Sharp fell. That was hilarious, man. I couldn't believe that. And then in the end, he put Eddie Edwards in the ankle lock. Sami Callihan starts beating him up too. And then they start walking away after that. So, and there you go. That was it. Hey, Eddie Edwards got his ass kicked. That was a positive there for me. But also, again, I got a kick out of it because Ken Shamrock, oh my god, he needs to stop wrestling. He's need to stop wrestling. He's not what he used to be anymore. He's not. He's no longer in his prime anymore. He looks great, but he's no longer in that type of condition that he used to be in before. As when it comes to in-ring wrestling, he's not the old Ken Shamrock before. Because this is now the Ken Shamrock who's a former shell of himself. So we get Jimmy Jacobs, who confronts the Impact World Champion Eric Young, who retains to Wahid the Swan, and basically Eric Young said we're going to find out. We're going to find out. But yeah, we'll see. At the same time, EY was intimidating Jimmy Jacobs during this whole thing, and I was thinking to myself, he's probably gonna beat him up, and that's not he didn't do that, but I was thinking he was gonna do that because Jimmy Jacobs, he's a wrestler, so I was thinking he was gonna do just that, but he didn't do it. But instead he did someone else. But we'll get to that when we get to that part. That ends up being on the main event, the main event segment, I should say. So we'll get to that. Kimber being accompanied by the Knockouts champion, the Virtuosa, Yana Perazo versus Smiley Kylie Ray. The match happens. It's a pretty good match between Kimberly and Kylie Ray. At one point, Yana Perazo did get involved, and she was being a big distraction to Kylie Ray. And this is all for where Kylie Ray wants to get revenge for what happened to her fallen friend Susie. In the end, it was Smiley Kylie Ray getting the win over Deanna Perazo with the crossface, and she will not let go. So Deanna Perazo gets in the ring, beats up on Kylie Ray. Kylie Ray fights back, and Deanna Perazo retreats, and that was it. More build-ups between Kylie Ray and Deanna Perazo for the Knockout title at Bound for Glory. So there you go. We get the Stone Cold Tag Team. We got Stone Cold Doc Gallows and Stone Cold Carl Anderson coming out and start cutting a promo saying, basically they open up the pocketbook to get the Good Brothers, and also Carl Anderson says that they are the best. What? The best wrestlers? What? The best drinkers? What? And they are the next wine drinkers? What? And the best tag team? What? And the best storytellers? What? And I say to myself, I will not add that part, by the way. That was not good there. But then they eventually said that they want to become the Impact World Tag Team Champions. And then we get to the match between Madman Fulton versus Doc Gallows, the Big LG. By the way, yeah, Ace Austin being accompanied by was there at ringside for Madman Fulton. So the match began. Also, and the match ended by a double countout. And then Josh Matthews saying, we're gonna continue with this after this commercial break. I said, so when we continue with this, the match is over. They got counted out. So we come back from commercial break. Match was restarted, but in no disqualification. And I say to myself, why couldn't Josh Matthews say something different from there instead of saying, we gotta break this guys apart and everything, or they could have done something like this, before going commercial break, have a referee or maybe Scott Demore come out and say, you know what, we're not gonna end the match like this. Restart the match, and this match will be no disqualifications or street fight, whatever it's going to be. But basically, that's what it's a being between Doc Gallows and Madman Fulton. And I say to myself, why could you just have that match, from the very beginning instead of just having a one-on-one match where it ends by a double count out, and Josh Matthews says, we'll be right back to this conclusion of this match. And I say to myself, what match? It ended. The bell rang. They were counted out. That's not until they came back from commercial break that they continue on fighting, in the sections. For reason they didn't show us what happened during the commercial break with Ace Austin being laid out on the stage and Carl Anderson being wounded at ringside. And I see myself, what happened during the commercial break? Why couldn't they show us that during when it came back and said during the commercial break, this is what happened? Why couldn't they do that? This whole thing was a complete mess. But the match itself, this is a type of match that I would love to see between Doc Gallows and Madman Fulton. No rules type of match, and it was pretty good. You know, they had chairs, trash cans. I think they had a steel pipe and a steel chain maybe. Um, and then in the end, it ends with Doc Gallows with a choke slam to Madman Fulton on two chairs, and Madman Fulton gets the loss here, and Doc Gallows gets the win, and that was it. And there you go, that was it. All right, main event time is Eric Young coming out, and I don't remember. Yeah, they basically had Josh Matthews and Madison Ray announcing some, the cards for Bound for Glory. I'll get to when we get after the segment ends. After I give you the rest of the results here. But yeah, they also announced there's gonna be some that's gonna happen next week on Impact Wrestling as well. I don't remember much of what's gonna happen next week on Impact Wrestling. But the things they did on the show here, at the very end of the show, should have been safe for next week if you ask me, which I'm gonna get to right now. So here we go. Eric Young comes out. He's looking for some answers about what happened to what's going on with Rich Swann. He says this is Eric Young's world now, and everything belongs to him. He says that the world title is the power. He won't leave the ring until he gets answers about Rich Swann. They then cut to backstage, and we see Scott Demoy looking concerned. He gets a phone call, and he gets the answers from the doctor, I should say, of Rich Swann. And he goes out there, and he says, there's some place he's got to be right now, and which is obviously in the ring. So we get to the ring. Well, Scott Demoy gets to the ring, I should say. Eric Young calls Scott Demoy, the boss man, and says it must be good news. Young tells Scott Demoy onto his face, and what he wants the world to know that Rich Swann is a quitter, and that he, Eric Young, has the night off at Bound for Glory. Scott Demoy says that he spoke to Rich Swann's doctor. Additionally, and substantial damage. I'm assuming that's how he said it. Basically was done to the ankle of Rich Swann. Eric Young also he started talking about, he's basically proud of what he did, and saying, basically starting to get into the face of Scott Demoy, telling him that Scott Demoy works for him now. It's not the other way around. It's Eric Young who's in charge now. Basically kept ranting about it, all on and on about it, and Scott Demoy says that Eric Young lost. He was meant to be. He was meant to be when he was gone in the other promotion. And Scott Demoy says that at Bound for Glory, Eric Young will defend his world title against Rich Swann, because Rich Swann he is clear. He is in good condition. So Scott Demoy says he hopes that Rich Swann knocks off the stupid look of Eric Young's face, and Eric Young attacks Scott Demoy. He beats up on Scott Demoy. A huge beat down on Scott Demoy, I should say. Puts him in the ankle lock. Also, Rich Swann comes out for the save, and Eric Young retreats. And Rich Swann holds up the Impact World Title belt. Match is still on between Rich Swann and Eric Young for the Impact World Title in the main event, and I cannot wait. This match is really being built up as a blooded feud between EY and RS. But no, we're not done yet, folks, because we get to Moose. He arrives at an undisclosed location with EC3 on the TNA World Title. EC3 and Moose start talking trash to each other. They start beating each other up. EC3 got the best of it, but then Moose, got EC3, beat him up, and kept punching him to a bloody pulp and make EC3 bleed. He got the TNA World Title belt back, walks away, and EC3 is on the ground, bloody face and everything, laughing, and that's how the show went off the air. And that was the end of Impact Wrestling from October 13th, 2020. And the main event match was Doc Gallows versus Madman Fulton. my wrestling were 5 matches. And my overall strength for the show for Impact Wrestling, the show from um October 4th, 13th, I meant to say, 2020. I'm gonna give the show a 7.5 out of 10. In fact, yeah, 7.5 out of 10. I'll give it. Good. I still enjoy the show for what it was, but um, also I need to say this too. The whole thing of that Eric Young, Scott Demoy, and Rich Swann, that should have been saved for next week's show for the Go Home Show edition. The same thing with Moose and EC3 finally getting one hands on each other of one another instead of EC3 always getting the better of Moose. That should have been saved for next week's show on the Go Home Show. Instead, they wasted it on this show. So I'm thinking to myself, how they gonna build up next week's show, the Go Home Show edition, to convince us to watch Bound for Glory this for Saturday of October 24th, 2020. I don't know what they're gonna do, but we're gonna find out. You know, so there they go. Before I go, let me just bring up the cards so far for Bound for Glory of 2020, which by the way, this will mark, I believe, 10 years or 15 years maybe of Bound for Glory. I'm assuming it's 15 years. Yeah, 15 years of Bound for Glory. And it's what happened, and that's what Tennessee at the Skyway Studios, which that's the only place they can do it so far. I don't know if they have plans to do it elsewhere, but the pandemic changed everything. So, but here's the matches that are lined up. You got Heath versus Rhino versus AC Romero versus Larry D versus Tino Dashwood versus Ty Valkyrie versus Brian Myers versus Tommy Dreamer versus Havoc versus to be announced, by the way. For what pertains to who's gonna be in this Korea shot gauntlet match. Oh, by the way, I got all wrong, my favorite folks. The stipulation is if Heath or Rhino lose, then Heath also wins a full-time contract with Impact. Oh wait, I'm sorry. If Heath or Rhino wins, I should say, my apologies. Either Heath or Rhino wins, Heath will win a full-time contract with Impact Wrestling, I should say. So so I was confused during the show. So now I finally read the absolute stipulation of it all. Heath and Rhino, if one of them wins the Korea Shop Gauntlet match, which we'll get to more when I do the preview of it. Then Heath will either way will win a contract with Impact Wrestling. So also in terms of Gauntlet match, the Korea Shop Gauntlet match, where the winner will choose anytime they want for any championship title match that they want. Like with last year, when Edwards won and everything. So Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock with Sami Callihan at ringside. EC3 versus Moose. And I'm assuming again it's gonna be an undisclosed location that they're gonna do at Bound for Glory, or they just might scrap it up and scrap that all off and just do it at in the ring, because they kind of already did that whole thing anyways during the show from this edition of Impact Wrestling. Rate Raju defends his Exhibition Championship in the 6-way scramble match with Chris Bay, Jordan Grace, TJP, Trey Miguel, and Willie Mack. A 4-way tag team match for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. The Motor City Machine Guns versus the Good Brothers versus the North versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Deron Purrazzo defends our Knockouts Championship against Smiley Calibre. And finally, the World Class Maniac, the Impact World Champion, Eric Young defends his title against Rich Swann. And that's all the match so far for Bound for Glory. Unless they do something else a new edition for Bound for Glory. Who knows? But to me, the card itself is very stacked. So there you go. And that's all I say, folks. That being said, thank you for watching. If this is the first time you're experiencing yours truly right here on my channel of Natural Born Driller, Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you enjoyed this this review, to all my supporters, give it a like. For those who didn't enjoy this, to all my haters, give it a dislike. Either way, thank you for joining me, choosing me, viewing me, by spending your time day and night with yours truly, Natural Born Thriller, right here on YouTube, as I try to give you the absolute best content that I can give you. And if you don't like it, too bad. Just saying. But with that being said, you all stay well, stay safe, take care of yourself, everything that's going on in the world, wear your mask, love one another, God bless one another, live in peace and harmony for us all. Ta-ta for now, for it's Natural Born Thriller saying peace on the streets. Take care. Oh, and by the way, tune in after this, because after this, I'll give you my All Elite Wrestling reviews for both shows of the results of AEW Dark and Dynamite, the anniversary show. Until then, take care.